by the end of this video, you will be able to create this donut, and let's get straight into it. This tutorial will be split into two parts. So in this first part, we are going to make the basic shape of it and add the sugar cubes with geometry nodes. And then in the second part, we're going to texture the donut and the sugar cubes, and then you're going to have your final masterpiece. So first, let's get started with the first part. So once we open Blender, we get this default cube. You should be very familiar with this. So we're going to delete this because this is nowhere near a donut shape. And then what we're going to do Shift A, go to Mesh, and then we're going to add a torus, as this is the closest to a donut shape. And then once you clicked and added the torus, on the bottom left, you'll see a drop down here. And it says add torus, click on it, and you'll get these settings. So we're going to increase the major segments to about 60. And then the minor segment to about 15. Not that much. And then we're going to increase the minor radius to make it a bit more fat and small on the inside. And once we've done that, you can click out of the thing, click out, and then the menu is going to go and the settings will be saved. Once you've done that, you just need to add a subdivision surface modifier to this so it's going to smooth out. So if you go over here on this wrench icon, it says modifiers. We're going to add a modifier, but make sure you clicked on this. So then it will add the modifier to this specifically. So add a modifier, I'm going to generate and go to subdivision surface modifier. And as you can see, you can get the meaning of the word. The modifier, so solidify, that's the meaning. Skin adds a procedural operation effect onto the active object, and so on. So we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier, and as you can see, it will smooth it out. In the rendered, it will add 2 levels of subdivisions, and on the viewport, it will add 1, but we're going to make it 2 so we can see it, how it will look in the render. So this is looking very cool. We are not going to apply it because sometimes you can get some glitches, so we are not going to apply it. We are never going to apply this modifier. So now you've done that, we are going to add some deformations to the donut because this donut is too perfect for my liking. So we're going to hit tab, or if you can't hit tab, if you go here object mode and change it to edit mode, you will see that this donut, you can see its vertices, and make sure you're in vertex select mode, not edge select or face select. Make sure you're in edge select mode. That's when you can see the vertices. Now you can click on the vertex, hit grab, but before you hit grab, make sure you hit proportional editing. Enable that. Proportional editing, if you hit grab, you'll see there's a circle of influence, but it's so big. So I'm going to make it a bit smaller. As you can see, we have a circle of influence. So inside, the vertices inside the circle of influence will be affected when we move this vertex that we have selected. So all the vertices inside the circle are being affected. So if you scroll this down, the vertices will be minorly, then the vertices will decrease. So if we increase this I'm going to, as you can see, this is happening. I'm going to exaggerate this and you see what happens. So I'm going to increase it very, very much, and then you can see this is not what we want. So I'm just going to decrease it, and once I decrease it, there you go. I'm just going to make it a bit deformed. As you can see, that is not what I want. So I'm going to do Control Z. I'm going to deform this part of it. So I'm going to go to this angle so you can see it better. Grab it, and you'll see that we'll get this. And now this is deformed a little bit. So now we're going to do it all the way so it doesn't look that perfect. Going to do this vertex. Grab it. We might even increase the circle of influence. We could just need to scroll up or scroll down. So if I hit this, grab, so you can scroll down to make it bigger, scroll up to make it smaller, and you can just increase it. I'm going to do some from the bottom. So from here, grab it, increase circle influence a bit, and then there you go. As you can see, there are some slight deformations. I'm going to add some here, grab it, not that, grab it, and then maybe increase the circle influence a little bit, and then as you can see, it adds some deformation to it, as a donut is not perfect. Maybe I need to move this a bit more down, right there. And now if we go back to object mode by hitting tab, you'll see that our donut has some slight deformations. As you can see, I don't like this, is very exaggerated. I don't like it being that much. So we're gonna go back to edit mode, grab this and move it a bit down. And now if we go back, it's looking slightly better. Now once we've done that, now it's time for us to add the sugar cubes. So we're gonna do this by geometry nodes. So we're gonna click the torus or the donut. I'm gonna rename the torus to donut or bread. You can name it bread as well, and you can do that. And there we go. Now we need to bring up the timeline, and to change the timeline to the geometry node editor, click this and you'll see the geometry node editor. The shortcut is Shift F3. Click that and we're going to add new, and we're going to rename this to donut. I'm just going to name it donut. You can name it anything you want, doesn't really matter. And then once we're here, the group input is the torus itself, okay? So first of all, we need to add the sugar cubes. So first thing we're going to do is that we are going to add distribute points on faces node. You'll see what's going to do. It's going to distribute face on points on faces, okay? There. This, I got the wrong one. This one displace. We don't want this one. So we're going to delete that. And again, distribute points on faces, this one. So now we've done that. You should know the basics of nodes. You can only connect the colors to the colors. You can't connect green to purple or green to dark green. It has to be the same, but there are some exceptions. So we are going to connect this one to mesh and then point to geometry. And now you'll see that we have some points. As you can see, this is not looking like sugar cubes, and as you can see, our donut has disappeared. Our donut has disappeared because we distributed the points on faces and we didn't join the geometry. So we're going to add another node called join geometry. And what this will do, if we need to deselect this one and then this one there, and you'll see the group input is the donut, and then we need to join the points and the donut together with this node join geometry. As you can see, this node has a different input, it's bigger, so you can add we can add more than one input to it. And then you can see it has joined the points and the group input, which is the torus, and then it's combined it to make this. Now as you can see, these are not looking good, like the points are not looking good. So we need to add a cube-like shape. To add a cube shape, to make your own shape, to add your own custom shape. So we're gonna go here, get the cursor and move it right there, because this is where our object will come. So if you do Shift A, if you want to add like a let's say a cone. I'm not gonna do this, but I'm just gonna give you an example. If you're adding a cone to it, and then click on this to get your geometry nodes back, because the geometry nodes are on the donut. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to here is the cone, drag this right here, and then we're gonna add a node called instance on object, instance on points. Instance on points, not 2 points. Okay, there is a difference. And then we're going to add the geometry to the points right there. And then we are going to, actually this is the wrong one, geometry to instance. Never make this mistake, because lots of beginners make this mistake if you're doing like we're going to deselect and it's going to point to this one, and then this one goes there. And now you see that we have donuts, but when you get this glitch, it's because you haven't applied the scale. Because applying the scale is very, very important. So to apply the scale, you Control A and apply the scale, and now you can see that we have cones instead of those points. And this is because we added an instance, so we changed the points and added an instance, and the instance is the cones. We're gonna drag it in. But since we're adding sugar keys, we don't need a cone, so we're gonna delete the cone. Go here, delete it, and then you're gonna delete this node as well. Right there. And now we're going to add a cube to it. So Shift A, add a cube, scale it down, and then remember to apply the scale when you ever change the scale. Then Control A, apply the scale. And if you don't remember, if you change the location or rotation, just do all transforms, it doesn't really matter. And then go back, we're going to just get the cube, just change it to sugar cubes, sugar, and then go back to the donut, and then drag it in and add it to the instance right here. And as you can see, it's going from green to green, and now you can see that it is glitched. Now this is because we applied the scale and rotation whilst we shouldn't have to. So I'm just going to do Control Z to go back and when we're applying the scale. So if we go here and hit the N key, it says we apply the scale, but we need to go back even more. So now we haven't applied the scale and rotation. Now we're going to do Control A and only apply the scale, because we don't want to apply the location rotation because we haven't moved it. But then it causes glitches. So remember, I just did this on purpose because I knew it would happen. So I give you like what if you did it by accident. So now we just need to do that, and then we're going to just again get the cube, and then. And if you're wondering how I just went back, I did the shortcut key Control Z to go back to the previous position. I kept on doing it. There we go. Now we have our cubes on it. As you can see, the cubes are too big. So we're just going to go back here to the default cube and going to go close to it. And then we're going to scale it down even more. And then we're going to Control A to apply the scale, only the scale. As you can see, it has worked. Now it's being very, very little. So I don't like it very little. So I am just going to increase it a little bit more. So this is a process of elimination. Control A and apply the scale, and as you can see, it is much better. Now as you can see, how do you increase the sugar cubes? So if you go here and distribute point and face, this density, and if you increase the density, the sugar cubes increase, as you can see. I am just going to increase it to about 50 there. And as you can see, it is much better. Now we have done that, we just need to do one thing more. The thing we need to fix is that the randomness to it, because all of them are in one orientation. Look at them facing the same way. They have the same size, the same rotation, and it's very boring, and it looks very, 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 very Blender. So we need to make it more realistic, so we need to add a randomness to it. So if we go here, you can see we have a rotation and a scale here. So if we go and do Shift A, add a new node called random value, it will generate a random value. Now, for the scale, we need to do a float. But for the rotation, we need to do a vector because rotation has 3 values. But a scale only has 1 value, because then we don't want it to glitch. So we're going to do random value again, and this would be for the rotation, and we're going to make it a vector right there. Move it there, and now you can see we have this. I'm just going to move this node here so we can actually see it right there, because it's going to be much easier. Now we've done that. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to add a random value, so the minimum we're going to have. So we're going to plug this in. As you can see, when it is gray, you can put it to anything you want. So I am just going to put the random value of the float to the scale, and you can see that we have a randomness of scale of 0 to 1. As you can see, some of the cubes has a random value, has a random scale of 0, and once it has a 0, we can't really see on some cubes. And as you can see, some are very, 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 very little, and you don't want that. So we're going to increase the maximum and minimum scale to about 0.3. Now you can see some of them, and a maximum is 1. We don't want to increase it to like more than 1, because 1 is the maximum always for scale. Now once you've done that, now I'm going to do the rotation. At the rotation, it's plugged into the rotation, and then as you can see, you plugged it from a purple value to a pink value, and it just changed it. And that you can do this for the rotations. Now, as you can see, it has a randomness now, but we don't want it to be that random. As you can see, the random is 1. The most you can do it 1. I'm gonna make about 28. As you can see now, it can rotate from 0 to 28, and they're all random. And that is very, very good. As you can see, some of these cubes are actually intersecting with each other, and we do not want that because that is just look right there, and you can probably use it everywhere like there. And to do this, if we go back to our OG node right there, then we are going to change it to the distribution method poison disk, and then we are going to change the minimum distance. First of all, we have to increase the maximum distance. Increase it, and then once you've done that, increase the minimum distance to about 0.001 meters, because this is in meters. Now you can see they're only intersecting only a little bit, and if they are closer than 0.001 meters, then they will not. Then the cube will disappear. As you can see, it's still happening there. I'm gonna make it 0.003. Not 3. Then if it's not working, just increase it bit by bit. Then if it doesn't work, then you can just do 0.5, and you'll see they're gonna go because all of them are so close to each other. So I'm gonna make it 0.005. Now there needs to be some intersection, because then now you can see there are very little. This is very close. You can do 0.005. Now they're gone. Now you'll see the minimum distance 5. Now there are no intersections. So we really need to mess with each other with these nodes. Now we've done that, and that is it. Now we've got sugar cubes and our deformed nicely bread for our donut. And in the next part, we're gonna texture this, and don't forget to save. And I'll see you in the next part. So don't forget to like the video and subscribe.